So, why haven't I made a video in the past almost 2 weeks? Well, I was kind of waiting for the debt ceiling agreement to be reached, but also, man, this market sure has been really boring. Looking here at CoinMarketCap, you can see that basically we've been flat for the past at least week, with Bitcoin only being down 0.84%, which is really nothing for Bitcoin, and Ethereum only being down or up actually 0.7%. As a matter of fact, you have to go all the way down to the number 8th place position before you even see a move that's more than 1%. Unfortunately, that is Dogecoin at the number 8th place position, and we are down 2.4%. And out of the top 10, number 9 has moved the most, which is Polygon or Matic, and they're up 5.4%. This is really exciting stuff, guys, and man, the market sure is going crazy. But as they say, it's usually calmest before the storm, so hopefully this means that we're going to be having a pump coming up soon. One thing that could cause the market to pump is if they actually do finally come to a conclusion on the debt ceiling problem. It looked like yesterday on Friday we were going to finally get a decision, and we kept seeing news articles coming out saying that they were really close to a decision. And Janet Yellen with the Treasury has been saying that the deadline is June 1st or we're going to default on our debts. But now, according to this article by CNBC News, it looks like they might have moved that deadline back a little bit by 5 days to June 5th. Maybe they just had to put a little bit of cushion on that since we have a 3-day weekend and it looks like they can't decide on anything. But regardless, I'm pretty sure that they're going to raise the debt ceiling because we're not going to default on our debts. And even if we did, we're not going to really default and not pay our interest payments. We're actually going to raise the debt ceiling. It's just going to be a little bit of a panic if we don't get it done by the 5th. As a matter of fact, I talked about back in January how we were about to hit the debt limit, and we did hit that at 31.4 trillion on January 19th of 2023, meaning that we are already way past the debt ceiling. But the government continues to spend, and there's no way that they're actually going to be able to cut spending enough to not have to raise the debt ceiling, because for one thing, that's really just impossible, mostly due to all of the unfunded liabilities and the interest rates on all of the debt that we already do have. But here's another phenomenon that you may not have heard of. It's called baseline budgeting. According to this on Citizens Against Government Waste, it says baseline budgeting is one of those Washington terms that sounds very dry and boring. In reality, baseline budgeting is one of the most sinister ways that politicians claim to cut spending when they actually increase the spending. The Congressional Budget Office defines a baseline as the benchmark for measuring the budgetary effects of proposed changes in federal revenue or spending, with the assumption that the current budgetary policies or current services are continued without change. The baseline includes automatic adjustments for inflation and anticipated increases in program participation. Basically, this means that if they fill out their budget and they use all of the money that is in their budget for this year, then they're basically guaranteed that budget for the next year, plus some for inflation and possible anticipated increases in program participation. It says baseline or current services budgeting therefore builds automatic future spending increases into Congress's budgetary forecasts. This means that they can't really go down on the spending. It's just a thing that ratchets up and there's no going back. They might talk about cutting the budget, and that's just because they're actually expecting to spend a lot more than they were last year. And if they cut it by a little bit, that doesn't mean that they're going to be spending less than last year. It just means they're going to be spending less than they expect to. This combined with the fact that we already probably are, or else we're definitely headed into a deep recession, and that means that there's not going to be as much earnings as there has been in the past few years. So even if they do raise the percentage of taxes that they're going to be charging us next year, they're not going to be able to raise taxes because the income just isn't there in the first place. Meanwhile, it looks like we've just shifted to a 64% chance that there's going to be another 25 basis point hike in the next meeting. And it looks like this is due to the PCE data that we actually had come in yesterday or on Friday, which was 0.4%, just 1% higher than the forecast and 0.1% higher than last month. I don't really think that this is something to worry about. The Fed might be a little bit cautious because of this news, but I do expect some kind of fluctuations in the data as it comes in over the next few months. I don't think that inflation is going to head straight down. It's probably going to fluctuate up and down. But in the long term, I think it's going to be headed in a downward trajectory, at least until the Fed starts printing again. Really, at least until the Fed starts printing again, and then all of that printing works its way through the economy, which we all know takes about 9 to 12 months. The Fed does want to keep interest rates at about 5% or maybe even higher, and I do think that they could possibly even do that while still stimulating and putting liquidity into the economy. Right here we have the Fed's balance sheet, and as you can see, it was headed to the downside over the past few months or maybe even the past year or so. But whenever we started to have those banking crises, they pumped a bunch of money back into the economy to the sum of about $200 or $300 billion. And that's whenever we started to see the crypto market and the stock market going back to the upside. Over the past few weeks, as they've been trying to reduce this balance sheet even further, we have seen a little bit of a pullback. But with the debt ceiling deadline coming up here and possibly being on June 5th, I think that they're going to have to start adding back to their balance sheet, because the only way they're going to be able to fund all of the government spending is to continue to buy treasuries. This means that they might actually keep the interest rates higher for longer while also adding to their balance sheet, and this would cause a lot of confusion in the traditional markets. But I think that this would show everybody that there is not very much trust to be had in the Fed, and that everybody pretty much needs an alternative form of money, and that could be Bitcoin or cryptocurrency. We already saw whenever those banks started to collapse that people started to find and rush into other forms of currency to try to hedge themselves against a possible banking system collapse that could be coming. And as the economy continues to crumble and the Fed continues to make mistakes and destroys the economy along with the banking system, I believe that trend is going to continue. And even though Bitcoin is sitting at about $26,750 right now, I don't think that it can be held down here for very much longer. And eventually the Fed is going to have to realize that they've made a mistake and they're going to pivot. All right, now let's talk about
China.
A lot of people have finally started to report on the news that I talked about back in January, actually, that China might actually start to adopt cryptocurrency and to let people start trading it again in the retail markets. One piece of news that could send us to the upside breaking out of that pattern is this super bullish news that I was alluding to in the beginning of the video, that crypto in Hong Kong is getting soft backing from Beijing. Supposedly, crypto is going to be available for retail traders in Hong Kong soon, and they have obviously had to get permission from the mainland in order to let this happen. So I guess that's one of the other reasons why I haven't made a video this week. I just feel like all of the news that has come out this week, I already made a video about a couple months ago. But either way, everybody's putting out this news right now, so I guess it was time for an update anyway. This article from the South China Morning Post, which is actually straight out of China, says that Hong Kong retail investors are to start trading major cryptocurrency tokens from June 1st as new virtual assets regime kicks off. So it looks like they decided on a date, and it must be June 1st, which is actually pretty coincidental with the deadline for the debt ceiling. And I think that between this and the Fed printing that's going to be coming up here, there's going to definitely be money just pouring into cryptocurrency coming up real soon. It's just a matter of time, and there's not really anything that can stop it at this point. Also, according to this article by Decrypt, apparently new crypto rules suggest that Hong Kong is just a testing ground for China. This means that if everything starts to go well in Hong Kong, then maybe the mainland will actually be able to offer retail investors trading through cryptocurrency platforms as well. This would be super epic, obviously, because billions of dollars would be pouring in because there's billions of people over there. And if just a small portion of the population puts, say, 5 or 10% of their net worth into cryptocurrency, I think it's going to definitely send us to the moon, to say the least. So June 1st, Hong Kong is going to be offering crypto trading to retail investors, and that means that even maybe mainlanders will be able to come over to Hong Kong and get some investments in over there as well. And then on the 5th, the debt ceiling by the 5th, the debt ceiling is going to be raised, and there's not really any other option but for the Fed to add to their balance sheet. Between these two things, it's just a matter of time. So let me know in the comments, how long do you think that we can actually be held down before people start to realize all of this great news and send us back to the upside? I guess that's really all of the news that's not really news because it's old news, but everybody is reporting on it today like it's news. But either way, that's all that I've got for you. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye. With the Only Good merch, if you wear Only Good, you're going to feel only good. So don't forget to do Only Good every day and get on over to onlygoodcrypto.com right after this video and check it out. This is Abisu. He's named after one of the 7 lucky gods of Japan. According to legend, he will bring wealth and prosperity to anybody who evokes his name. So don't forget to write his name in the comments or you'll bring dishonor to your whole portfolio. And check out this video right here. Say goodbye, Abisu.